coming to you live from G Consulting International Services, live here in Abuja. And I'm being joined by no other person than the Group Managing Director of G Consulting International Services, Dr. Godfrey Ajayi Sunday, and also a pension management consultant and partner of G Consulting International Services, Mr. Adeola Oloyede. Now, together, we are going to be looking at extensively issues that borders on management and leadership of companies, because on this show, our attention is focused on chief executives of small, medium, and large enterprises. And I know you are one of them. And so we're going to be looking at matters that concerns you, matter that concerns how you can better structure your business and manage your inventories, and of course, ensure that your bottom line is safe and secured for your investors. And so on this edition, like I have introduced, I have by my left, Dr. Godfrey Ajayi Sunday. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, Mr. Sailume, it's nice to be here again to look at the matters that concern the CEOs. These are the chief executive officers. These are the guys that drive the SME industry. And it's very important that we feel them so that we can know what their problems are and try to provide solutions to them. Because I believe that if we get the SMEs right, then we'll probably get the nation right.
Sure thing. And on my right, I have Mr. Adeola Oloyede. Adeola, welcome to the show.
Mr. Osai, thank you very much for another wonderful time in the studio with you. It's a wonderful thing that Nigeria is where we are, and the CEOs who are actually of SMEs are actually driving the economy, who are supposed to be driving the economy, are actually being thrown under the bus. So I believe we should be able to attend to some of these problems and see how far we can go.
Yeah, the show is meant to provide you with useful tips and possible strategies that you can use, in your businesses. And today we're going to be starting, looking at, a few days ago, I was speaking with someone and I asked the person, how do you see the economy? He said, bros, the economy is for the books. Essentially, the economy is for the books because a lot of things are happening. A lot of things are happening across a broad spectrum of economic policies and programs. And we're going to be looking at how are you navigating these economic challenges? How have you been able to cope in terms of managing your staff, in terms of managing your inventories? And I want to begin by asking Dr. Godfrey, how do you think SMEs are coping at this point in time?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Osai. I'm a CEO myself.
Yes.
If you don't cope, you drop out. So, quite a number of companies on a daily basis are dropping out. When you cannot continue, the greatest challenge for a CEO today is that, the month is too short. Before you blink your eye, the month is over.
And you are due to pay.
Yeah, the staffs are looking at you Ido to Ido now. That's eyeball to eyeball. So, long time ago when I started managing a company, I had a driver that was ready to stick out. And something happened. We're just starting. As a startup then, the first 3 months, salaries were not regular. And, he would laugh, but when he gets to 25, by the time he gets to 30, the young man is no longer...
He's no longer smiling.
He's no longer smiling. So I called him and said, look, Harry, we're in this together.
Yes.
So what is the problem?
Yes.
He said to me, Oga, it's not about him. It's about the fact that if he gets home, somebody is going to say, you.
And he's expected to respond.
That's on a daily basis. And at the end of the month, he's expected to bring the big pay home to be able to take that. And if that has been delayed for a month, for 2 months, and we had to part on a good note to say, Oga, let me go and look for something else as you try to sort out yourself. So that was it. The challenges are a number of staffing, technology, finance, they are there. So, it's the responsibility of the CEO to actually produce for the economy. And if they're not being now taken care of, the economy is not smiling at them, then of course you expect that dropout rate to be there. and you now have a private sector that is not able to back up the public sector adequately. So those are where the issues are.
Yeah, so the key issue that is driving these economic challenges over time, since the advent of the Tinubu administration, to be specific, is the issue of inflation. Yeah. I want to go to Mr. Oluide now, to look at what are you seeing with regards to this inflation? Do you think it's something that's going to come down anytime soon, or the CEOs should better prepare for, more dangerous times ahead?
Thank you, Mr. Osai. Well, despite all the policies, regulations that this government has put in place, it has not brought a succor to CEOs in their operations, even to Nigerians. And so I don't think I will stick my neck out to predict whether the information will come down.
Wow.
I can't do that, because as of yesterday, what we got from MBS is a big one.
Yeah.
That's about 40% or 43%.
Yeah, that is food inflation.
Not food inflation. But when the food are scarce, or they're not there, or the money you have to buy the food is not there, or you have the money, but you can't even get the food to buy. So our own inflation is just a multitude of different strokes.
Yeah.
So I think the CEOs should prepare themselves for a long time.
Time to come.
Yes.
Now,
like they say in Nigeria, you have to prepare for a long thing.
The long thing. That is the bank.
Yes.
The bank is still out there. Okay. So, Dr. Godfrey, now I want to, because on this show, we thrive more on sharing practical experiences, so as to ensure that you are not just wasting your time watching this show, but you are going to go away taking with you some vital tips that you can implement. Dr. Godfrey, what are the areas that you are seeing that is going to be more challenging? Because like Mr. Oluide has just projected, we are in for a long thing. So what areas are you seeing that CEOs should begin to tidy up, to get their acts together and get prepared for this long thing?
Yeah, I mentioned the issue of human resource,
yes.
which is at the key of everything about every organization. Of course, when you look at elementary economics, you look at those things that enterprise require for them to be able to survive. You look at the various resources. You look at, number one, now the human resource. One of the greatest things that is affecting the human resource now is the Japa syndrome.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is capital flight, there is human resource flight. Okay, so the best hands are leaving. You finish training a staff, spend all the whole money to train a staff, and at the end of the day, the following morning you're waking up and the staff is not waking up alongside with you. So that is also like a major problem. Then what about the inputs and the resources required for the production?
Exactly.
Okay, the raw materials right now. Okay, so and that's why Mr. Oluide talked about the food inflation being at 43-44%. So what that means that the cost of production is now generally very, very high. And the moment the cost of production is high, then you do not have any choice than the cost of output will also be high. Again, you have other indices. And I always tell government, focus on driving these indices down. Okay? If you're unable to drive them down, do complementary economy so that the people will be able to afford whatever the inflation is throwing
at them.
At you. So the cost of raw material, which is generally mostly agrarian in nature, for example, if you are into rice, I always talk about rice, whatever you are producing, you need a primary source of raw material. And once you have those source of material, if the cost is high, then at the end of the day, your cost of output will also be high. But again, what is driving those things to be high is those statistics that we're talking about. The inflation that you mentioned, the instability in the macroeconomic environment.
Yes.
So those are the primary responsibility of the government. And if you drill down to say this inflation, what is actually now even causing it, you now discover that insecurity is
part of it.
It's part of it. It's even the major thing, because you finish talking to a farmer and you now tell you, okay, go back to farm, go and do good agronomic practices for you to be able to produce plantain, to do plantain chips. And at the end of the day, he asks you, if I get killed in the farm, what happens?
If I get kidnapped.
So those are, I said, you have the challenge of human resource, Japa syndrome. You have the high cost of input. Then technology is not even readily on our fingertip. So you see that technology now is the name of the game. Okay, so what technology are you using to be able to drive your production. So all these are a combination of factors that are a great challenge. And, we advise people do multiple stream.
Yeah.
Okay, because if you do a single stream now, you will drop out. That's the truth of the matter.
So I think one of the key things take away there now from what Dr. Godfrey just pointed out is doing multiple stream of business. But yes. I want us to look at, deeply, critically on, the elements of businesses that, could suffer. You have pointed out human resources, technology and all that. But looking at, you talk about the output now, what measures can, CEOs begin to adopt now in terms of managing their inventory? Looking at the inflation rates, the devaluation of the currency, are there things that they could do? Maybe buying in bulk or maybe storing. Are there things that they could do in your thinking that could also help them in hedging against this inflation?
Yeah, great. You were talking about supply chain management now,
yes.
Warehousing. You look at what are your major source of raw materials. Okay, so at what point can you get them that are a bit cheap for you, for you now to be able to store them and use them when you actually need them? Okay, so that's where the issue of finance now comes to say, okay, maybe a particular raw material will be ready, will be cheap around maybe October. So this is
July.
This is July now. So you must be able to have a handshake with your bank. There's something I normally advise CEO. There's something called an overdraft.
Yeah.
Okay. Every serious organization should have an overdraft. What it means is that you are having that lifeline so that in case you need it, you can go and use it. An overdraft is slightly different from a term loan. Term loan is structured.
I think you hold on there. We're going to have a segment where we'll look at finance, access to finance. So maybe at that point you help us to, share more personalized examples of how SMEs can tap into these various forms of financing of their value chain, of their supply chain. So, but again, I think the takeaway there. Let me go to Mr. Loide now. The takeaway from you is that SMEs, CEOs should begin to pay attention to warehousing, purchasing of
supply chain
of their raw materials ahead of time. What is your thinking?
Dr. Godfrey has really hit the name on the head. And aside from preparation for seasonal products that he mentioned, probably you need to buy in October in bulk. I think CEOs should also start upping their game in their financial education. It's very, very important because as it has to do with individuals in terms of financial education, CEOs should find a way, pay for it, and then get consultants that can help them to come out of this quagmire that we have in Nigeria today. One of the reasons why Nigerians are not doing well, both individual and companies, because they don't want to pay for services. You need to get somebody who will pull through this problem that we have now. And I think that's the major thing that is needed. If you're able to get somebody that pull through, not only the mentors, but a financial expert, somebody that knows the areas that you needed to work well on it and ensure that your business continues. After all, if your business collapses, you are going to be losing staffs to the market of labor, where they have to look for another job to do. And where are the jobs?
And the jobs are very plenty, so to speak. Now, there is a document that has been released by the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria called the SME Corporate Governance Guideline for 2024. Now, these guidelines, like Dr. Godfrey and Mr. Loide has been pointing out, first, as an SME, as a CEO, you need to be very conversant about your finances. We're going to come to that aspect of finance because we know that finance is a critical aspect, a critical component of enabling a CEO to be able to manage all the aspects of his business. So we're going to come to that point. But first, I want us to look at the corporate governance guideline that has been released by the Federal Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria. They are trying to look at how CEOs and small businesses could prioritize their processes. All right, how could they prioritize? Because some businesses are set up And we have a situation where they don't even understand the difference between their personal income and their business income. Problem. They don't even understand, because like it is said, today we have President Tinubu. Nigeria cannot be a country if there is no president. And that is the same thing it is. The president have structures that he runs. He has the Federal Executive Council, he have the ministries that he runs with. And so businesses also ought to have similar structures that will drive this process. So what are the issues that you see essentially in CEOs in small and medium enterprises with regards to being able to prioritize their processes and their structures?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Osai. Incidentally, by the weekend, I will be talking to an organization about corporate governance, and the code of conduct. Okay, it's like the Bible and the Quran of an average Christian, an average Muslim, who tells you what to do, how to run the business, and how to put structure in place. We always advise CEOs, look, no matter how small your business is, if you cannot put a board, have a mentor. Okay? So when you have a mentor, that's someone who has gone ahead of you. He has made mistakes. He's gotten it right. The guy is retired now. And he has quite a number of experience. Okay? So basically, no matter how small your business, whether you are a man pumping tire on the street, you should have somebody who has retired from pumping tire who will tell you what happened in 1929. So that you can learn from that. So scaling up that, as your business begins to grow, you must begin to put in corporate governance in place by way of code of conduct. And I tell people, look, you need to have a board. Okay? You have a limited liability company, for example, now. Have a board in place. Okay? What that board will do for you, they will give you advisory services. And you can afford Coke and cabin biscuits. So on a quarterly basis, you call them together, you share your vision and your mission with them, then you come to the point to say, look, what do I do? And at the end of the day, you serve the man a Coca-Cola and a Fanta and cabin biscuit. He will empty his bowl for you. So the advice is given you. By the time you begin to make use of it and it's generating results, then go to the point where you put the man on an allowance. Sitting allowance is called. So that he will tell you what happened in 1929. I thought
you are very close with 1929.
I thought you were going to ask me what happened in 1929.
And that's what I'm asking.
So that's the way it's built there is no way now, Central Bank of Nigeria, with all the financial institutions under their care, they have a code of conduct. So the moment you violate, you are going to be sanctioned. One of those codes is that as a CEO, you cannot enjoy more than 10 years. Okay? As a CEO.
That's for the banking,
industry now. I'm just making an example now. So the moment you have spent 10 years as CEO of Zenith Bank, then you have to step down for another person. So which leads to career progression. People aspiring. Because whatever you do in life, you must retire. However you look at it, once it gets to retirement stage, it will start staring you. Productivity will drop. Today we are complaining about President Biden. Okay? The code of conduct didn't state that, look, you cannot contest after a certain year. Okay, so that's why you are 120, God blesses you. Anywhere in democracy, you can still contest because they believe that experience will come to bear. But organization doesn't work like that. Okay? So there is the Chinese, is it the Chinese or the Japanese model now? In career succession and progression, what they do is that as the CEO, maybe you are the founder, okay, and you want your son or a close ally to take over your business. So when you're having board meeting, he sits outside the board.
As an observer.
As an observer, okay. Much later, he comes to just listen. So the succession will now come to the front where you drop back to just listening, where he now talks. Then it goes to the point of decision making. So with that way, we are able to have transition. So with whatever the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria is saying is the right thing, okay? There should be room for corporate governance and the code of conduct should be brought to bear. And in case you are a CEO, you don't have that now, you are breathing down the neck of everybody. I tell you that the life of your organization is not going to be long.
Yeah, I think we see, what corporate governance can do with the story of Boeing. Boeing is an aircraft manufacturing company in the U.S. Now, because over time, they have a institution, now they have a board, because part of what the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria is saying is that even if you have a board, like Dr. Godfrey is alluding, for those of us that don't have a board, you must, go get a board. Now, even if you now have a board, the other issue now becomes transparency and due process. All right? So, Boeing had a situation where the chairman of the board was the same time as the CEO.
No, that's
all right.
That's wrong.
Now, as big as that company,
that's wrong.
And when their a version of their airline, this Boeing 737 something
Max.
Yes, Boeing 737 Max began to crash. All right, and investigators now went to Airline Investigations Bureau. Now began digging
corporate governance.
Exactly, and they discovered that there was porosity in their corporate governance. So I want to ask you, Mr. Loyede, how can businesses ensure transparency, in their processes, in their corporate governance system and structures?
Thank you, Mr. Osai. Dr. Godfrey mentioned the issue of board, our mentor. I don't think you should overlook that. It's very, very important.
Yes.
You see, when you get cheap advice from people that have seen it all or have seen some, it's good for you instead of paying for it.
Yeah.
Like the other I mentioned, is your consultants. You can actually leverage on your board to help you out. On this corporate governance law or framework that FRC has brought out, one of the problems that we discovered when we were training, G Consulting, we were training for CBN and NASA loan, is that some people don't see the difference between the business and themselves.
Yeah.
And we always emphasize in the class that, look, the business, once you start it, it's no longer yours. You are now a manager. They are employed by the business. I think that is the corporate governance that FRC is trying to say. Separate yourself from the business. Any money that you want to use for the business, let it go to the business account of that particular business, not for your pocket. You don't augment for your pocket. Because if you're going for your pocket, you already allow the business to actually thrive on its own. And you see, the issue of corporate governance is very, very important because it can only help you to have a succession.
Yeah.
One of the problems of CEOs and business in Nigeria is that there's no succession plan.
There's no succession plan.
And that is why when they die or something happens to them,
the business
collapses. So FRC is trying to help that businesses should have good corporate governance so that all of us can have. Dr. Godfrey mentioned in one 4 hour we were talking that how many businesses in Nigeria
lasted for
other years. I don't. It's only maybe Udutola and company, all those sponsors, big companies in the West that time that lasted that time, and they are dead now. So the only way you can survive as a CEO is to follow the FRC guidelines or framework on corporate governance, which will go a long way to make your business to thrive, not only to thrive, but to succeed you after you must.
I think one very critical point that I just discovered. That there is a difference between a shareholder and a director.
Of course.
Okay.
So quite a number of people, do not understand that. So you can be a shareholder without being a director.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So you can also appoint somebody to represent you. Maybe you are the majority shareholder. You have substantial share in that company. You can get somebody to be your eye as a director in that
company.
And coming back to Boeing issue that you mentioned, organization got to the point where they become top heavy. Okay. So, and being top heavy in organization is synonymous to having a human cancer. Okay? So it is difficult when you want to cure cancer. They will tell you that the skin has to go as part of the healing process. The healing process. But, like you mentioned, Boeing, they started growing. There is nobody overseeing. There is no code of conduct. Okay? They may have a corporate governor to say, look, we have a CEO. But what's the code of conduct saying that at what point is the CEO going to retire? Because again, I tell you, in life there must be a time for retirement. The human body, is made in such a way that it gets to a point you begin to get tired. Let's look at Biden today. Guys, Biden is missing it up because of his age.
Yeah.
So whatever he does,
age is catching up with him.
He's catching up with him.
He's running and he's
So corporate code of conduct, it's very important. That's the rules and regulations that guides the way structure and transition is done in an organization. For you today, as an SME, it's not just having a structure. You must have a small code of conduct that will guide you. And every time I have opportunity to talk to my staff, I say, look, whether I like it or not, it will get to a point I just have to exit.
Yes.
Okay, so how prepared are you? It's not about me now.
Yeah.
I'm talking to them now. How prepared are you to
take over?
To take over.
When the time comes, are you preparing yourself?
And some people argue that, okay, they want their children to succeed them without preparing them. It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want your children to do very well, you must have to plan for them. Give them the necessary training on corporate governance, on code of conduct, implementation, on how to run organizations. And it led to the collapse of Diamond Bank.
Yeah. So I think the key takeaway now is that we must ensure that we adopt some of these basic practices. There is something that Dr. Godfrey said, which is the difference between a shareholder and a director. I would have wanted you to emphasize more on that, so that our viewers can better understand, at what point can you make someone a director and not a shareholder, and at what point can you make someone a shareholder and not a director?
Okay. You mentioned the issue of shareholders and directors. Okay. Shareholders are actually the people that contribute towards the financing of an organization. Okay. So, and shareholders are in levels. Okay, depending on how much you're bringing to the board. So you have 100%. So, and it is advised by code of conduct that normally you shouldn't have more than 49%, so that you do not start breathing down the neck of a company. So probably FRCN will be now telling you that, look, part of the code of conduct that if you're a company operating in Nigeria, you cannot own more than 49%, which makes a lot of sense. We do a lot of incorporation for people. From day one, people are not sincere. People want to own 100%. If you own 100%, the disadvantage is that you are limiting ideas from flowing in.
Yeah.
Okay? So try to own 89. Then as your company is growing, try to spread. Okay? Get to the point where that company leaves your hand as a limited liability company to become a PLC, where the public is now involved. So the public funds the organization, and you just listen to the details to do the shareholding and the shares, the sharing structure. So that's the shareholder essentially contributes, and you can own up to 100%, but we advise 49% is good, so that you can bring other people in. The more the people you bring, there's that's something called diversity in code of conduct.
Exactly.
Where there are female represented, male represented, people with disability represented,
the younger demography
represented. Well. So that brings a lot of things on board. Okay, so when it comes to directors now, directors are like the board of directors. Okay, so they are appointed by the shareholder to be the face. They are the one that attend the board meeting to represent the share.
That is taking direct operational decisions on a day-to-day basis.
And when it even comes to the board, there are different phases. There are independent directors. There are non-executive directors. There are executive directors. And so, of course, the MD, when you hear managing director, CEO, managing director, it's a director that is managing.
Yeah.
Okay? So when you hear executive director, it's a director that is not MD, but is
an executive level.
Is an executive level. He participates on the day-to-day running. Okay? So, of course, you now have independent directors. They don't participate in the day-to-day running of the organization, but during the board meeting, the whole sway. Then you got to the point where you have committees, board committees. Yes. Okay? So board committees, maybe audit committee that reports directly to the board. It goes beyond the MD.
Committee.
Okay? So that's putting an organization in proper perspective for the organization to outlive you. Because the human is configured to die anytime.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you die, your organization should not die.
Now, I think one thing that, you were talking about some people from the beginning, they are not usually upfront in terms of, what they want and how they want the best for the company, because at the end of the day, they have this ulterior motive of trying to get 100% of the shares. But they fail to also understand that, the shares of the company you are getting is not just the asset. You're also carrying the liability.
Yeah.
You know, so it is like Dr. Goff is saying, it is in your best interest not to be greedy about the number of shares. Provide an environment where there will be diversity and inclusion, which can, you know, support the innovativeness
of an organization.
Of an organization. Yes. Now, I don't know if you want to add something quickly on
no,
that.
No, we can.
Yeah, so let's look at, you know, the Federal Executive Council again recently revised the national policy on micro, small, and medium enterprises, which, you know, in that thinking is meant to support the micro, small, and medium enterprise subsector in increasing or improving the business environment and increasing access to capital and trade. Now, I wanted to look at, you know, I paused you at the point when we're talking about, you know, how SMEs can actually leverage certain facilities, you know, in doing their business. So I wanted to, you know, because we know that finance is a key problem.
Yeah, before you get to finance, talking about the Federal Executive Council and MSME, I and you in a session, we agree that something is missing.
Yeah.
Again, at this forum, we use it to bring it to speed and on board. There used to be Ministry of Commerce and Trade, okay? And if you look at your elementary economics again, I mean, in those days, there used to be a subject called commerce.
Yeah.
And there is also used to be another subject called economics, okay? So when you look at commerce, commerce talks about generally, I mean, today, commerce has migrated from commerce to e-commerce, okay? So it talks about businesses and the way they are being done. So the crafters of the Constitution came up with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry to take care of the SME subsector, which dovetail to the finance that you talk about now. Again, the Bureau of Statistics and SMIDAN came to the conclusion that they will have about 41 million MSMEs. Okay, so who is catering for them? The banks that you have, as you have them today, you know, it's easier for you to, for a needle to pass through the eye of a camel than for an SME to get money from a bank.
Yeah.
So without losing thought of what I wanted to say, the FEC at this point in time just created a Ministry of Livestock. I think what they need better than the Ministry of Livestock is the Ministry of MSMEs. Because we had Commerce and Trade that became Ministry of Trade and Investment. So you saw that we have lost these MSMEs.
Yes.
So right now, the MSMEs have become orphans.
In their mother's house. That's a terrible one.
Yes. So if they have become orphan, it means that orphan needs to be taken care of.
Yes.
That's
so orphans are crying out now.
We have to say they are not funny.
Orphans are crying out.
They are not funny.
Yes.
So that's where the problem is. So coming back to your question, which is finance, if we have a Ministry of MSME, they will be able to know how much finance that they require and know how they want it and be able to work towards giving them those finances. And again, the banks come up now. We have the developing economy, having things like development banks.
Yes.
Okay, Bank of Industry. Recently, we talked about Energy Bank.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the banks should know that their primary responsibility is to grow the SMEs. As they are growing the SMEs, they will also grow.
Exactly.
In their strides.
Yeah, I think the crucial thing which you need to emphasize more, and of course, which we are doing here, is the fact that there is a need for the Ministry of MSMEs.
Yes.
We have seen it in some parts of the world. For instance, India have a Ministry of MSME, you know, which caters essentially, specifically, you know, for this subsector. And that is why you can see today that India is everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, because one thing that we, you know, the framers of our policies and our, you know, people in the political space don't understand is that this sing-song that MSME drives the economy is not a sing-song, it's a reality. You know, and it is from the MSME space that you are able to create individuals that, you know, become so rich in knowledge and vast in experience that they can even export themselves
to nations.
Nations.
It can even be a deliberate policy of the administration. For example, today, Nigerian food.
Yes.
Okay? Nigerian food, I mean, like the moment as a Nigerian you leave, you go to anywhere in the world, by 2 weeks you started missing Nigerian food.
Yeah.
So we can create an enterprise called the Nigerian restaurants across the world, all the capitals of the world.
Yeah.
Bring up Nigerians, train them, and throw them.
And throw them out to those places. You know?
So you know, you talked about India.
Yes.
In US, they call it Small Business Administration. In Canada, today, if you undergo an entrepreneurship training, full entrepreneurship training, you will get immediately the Canadian government will come behind you. They don't want you to go back to pay the employment.
Yeah.
So whatever grants that you require to continue to be in business, to employ more people.
You know, countries are designing various policy frameworks to attract entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about Canada now, they have specialized visa program
for business people.
Yes, for business
bring
people.
The little money you have from your country.
In the US, they have, you know, the same thing.
Yes.
You are very familiar with some of these policies.
Yes.
Yes. You know, why we're not trying to blame anybody here, but we have to talk about the reality. I think most of our politicians don't really understand the MSME.
Exactly.
Most of them have never done business before.
That is very true.
They don't set up their children to do anything. They only give them whatever largesse they have around them. And that is why the MSME are suffering in Nigeria. You can imagine, if Canada gives you about $5,000 Canadian dollars to start a business, how will you go back to pay the employment? They expect you that you employ 1 to 3, 4 persons to be able to help you in the business. And as they are doing that, they too, by the time they leave you, they too are setting up something. So, like Dr. Godfrey said, we need to a deliberate policy to bring up the MSME to help this country. The problem we have today is because MSME are not well oiled. They are not getting what they are supposed to get. If not, we won't have labor market that is saturated. People don't have. And most of the big companies are leaving Nigeria.
Yeah.
How many Nigerians can afford to buy those companies from them? But if you have developed, like we have been saying on this program, a big ones, like Nigerian food. If you have a Nigerian food, definitely here they will be in charge of the production of the raw material needed.
Exactly.
To make those foods abroad. And the much needed foreign currency that we needed will come from there.
I tell you, this
it will flow in from there.
Yeah, these are free consultation that you're doing for the you understand? You know, as it has been said, the orphans are crying for.
Yes, they're crying for an orphanage. Somebody can go.
So, but I want us to look at. You know, you talked about the fact that we can groom Nigerians here, create Nigerian restaurant across the globe, and groom Nigerians and throw them there. That is access to market, access to trade.
Yeah.
What are you seeing, you know, especially in this time, this economic, you know, quagmire, like Mr. Louis, they called it earlier on. What are you seeing in terms of trade? How are MSMEs able to trade as at this time?
Okay, so you are also big with markets. I know that you anchor a program called Market Movers. I know something must have motivated you towards doing the Market Movers.
Yes.
It's often said that, look, do not start any business until you are sure about the market. Very, very important. Yes. Starting a business without a market is like winking at a lady in the dark. Okay, there's no way she will ever see you. Okay, so again, the market is large. Okay, 223 million Nigerians in one location. I mean, when you see other companies want to jump into Nigeria, is because they want to tap into that market. And when it comes to market analysis, there's something we call think local and act global. Every production is done locally. If you fly into China today, Beijing is the center of enjoyment. If you want the center of production, you have to go to the rural areas where production is going on. So by the time they finish production, they bring it to the large market to be able to sell. So the way they set up the Chinese SMEs today is that they have machines. Let's assume you want to produce these chairs that we're sitting on right now. They build a machine that can produce probably 10,000 per hour. Okay? So when you land in Benji, you fly to the locality where chair is being produced. They ask you how many chairs do you want. You say 10,000. You pay for it, and in an hour, your chairs are ready. So nobody does production and keep it on the ground. Nobody does that. Okay. So when you make a pre-order, they make it available and they transport. So the market is huge. Just mention any sector. When you look at the food sector, for example, now, no matter how much you fast, 40 days, 40 nights, what are you going to break it with?
Food.
With food.
Yeah.
So it makes food to be very, very essential. So as an entrepreneur today, you're looking at one of the quick areas you can go into. Think about food. Okay? Think about food, various aspects of the food that you can go into. Restaurant today, this location we are shooting from today. I mean, you want to dash into a restaurant and it's not readily available.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that is the one thing I want to highlight before I go to Mr. Lode now, for us to look at licensing and registration, because for you to even access the trade, the market, you must be properly licensed and regulated. Now, one of the mistakes that some organizations do is they start a business or a project or developing a product without having a marketing person.
Yeah.
Because you just said that some people don't have idea of the market, and one of the challenges, the mistake that you make is to start a business without understanding your market. And where the problem starts from is you start a business and you don't have a marketing person. So by the time you are finished your product, you now begin to look for how will the customers accept the product that you have developed.
It's called market research.
Yes. So
before you even start production, the marketing people must be there to.
You must have done the research, and that makes it important for you to have a marketing person before you commence your business. So let's look at licensing and registration. What are some of those compliant, requirements, that small businesses should look out for?
Thank you, Mr. Osai. They are very simple. Just as government has encouraged, they don't force them to, not like the POS has been pursued and they must, POS agents are being asked to register. It's just for you to show intention, get a name that you want to use, go to CAC or the agents, give the name, it will check if it's available, somebody has not used it before, and once it's done, then you start the registration process. And within a matter of 1 week, it's out. What does it do for you when you register your business? What it does is to make it visible.
Yeah.
Who wants to trust a one-man business who doesn't have a name registered with government? And I'll give you my 10 million naira to produce for me. I will come and collect it in the next 1 week. Register your business makes it easy for you to be visible. People know you. And they can get you. Like we used to tell some people when they ask us, where are you people? G Consulting, where is it? Where is it? It's like when we tell them, I can't run away from here. See this square feet that I'm running here. I can't run away. That's why you meet me every day. So somebody can give you a contract of 100 million naira because it's sure that it's going to meet you somewhere. That's why it's good to register. Also, it gives you opportunity to have a TIN number for tax purposes.
Yeah.
So when you want to remit tax, VAT, another vatable things or taxable things, then you do that with ease because you already have a number. A lot of this comes with it. And these days, when you register, the TIN number comes with your certificate. You don't need to go and start struggling to get the TIN number. And government knows that once you have a TIN number, they're able to leverage on the taxes that you're supposed to pay, and they're able to monitor it. And collection will become very easy. That's why government is encouraging people to be able to do all those things. And it's very crucial, not only for the businessman, also for the economy. Because from there you can now think or know the amount of money that will come in for you as tax in terms of registration.
As an incentive for people to register, we talked about the fact that, look, today they are sharing palliatives.
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever gotten palliative?
No, I don't. Well, maybe we are not in the category of palliative.
No, so that I want to tell them the category who actually needs
palliative.
Needs palliative. So you have your company register, limited liability company, and every year you render your returns, you pay your tax. So you are employing people. So you are the database of the government. Federal Inland Revenue Services knows you.
Yeah.
And you're a tax paying. So who should get the palliative?
The taxpayers.
The taxpayers. So the moment you get it, you encourage him to say, look, today I'm still expecting. Let them be able to drop 5 million for the activity. I mean, we have over 5 companies registered and we are paying tax every year. Okay? And all these companies are all on websites. We're employing people.
Yes.
So who needs the palliative more than us?
You know, there's one funny thing that we do in this part of the world. Do you know in the US, when the time comes for tax rendition,
okay,
you know, tax filing and all that, citizens, business owners are sometimes very happy because they usually have tax rebates.
Yes.
Yeah.
We used to have tax rebate in Nigeria, especially for civil servants. We used to have that even for companies. But now it has disappeared.
So where is the tax? Where is the money?
We don't know.
You must know now.
We must know. But
you were part of the people.
You know, but you have opened another area
Pandora
now
box
that we have not even looked at.
Yes.
Are businesses actually getting rebates?
That I'm telling you, they're not getting.
But they're supposed to get it.
Here, I'm here. They are not getting.
We are not getting here. We know that we are not getting, and we render our returns every year.
Yeah.
So government should make it as a part of duty to ensure that they encourage people to pay tax. At the same time, give them rebate. If you are giving more than necessary, government should give you something in return.
Yeah.
And this palliative we are talking about, every tax-paying organization should get a rebate. Or when palliatives come, you give them something.
Yeah.
I don't see anything why.
There's something called social, corporate social
responsibility.
Okay, so I'm just trying to tell you that the people those vulnerable people they are trying to target now. Okay, in UAE, for example, if you run a company as a foreigner in UAE, you must put at least 2 people in your payroll.
Yes.
They are not working for you, but at the end of the month when you are paying staff salary,
you pay them.
You must pay them. So you can see where we are coming from now. That look, these vulnerable people that we talk about now, you can make a policy that if you're a tax-paying institution, once you get that rebate and you get this palliative that we're talking about, you can touch the life of certain people. And when you're ready your return, you carry those figures,
those numbers,
to your returns.
So this one would now be more vulnerable. So if you now come to G Consulting, for example, and say, look, who are you supporting? We'll give you the record, and you go back to go and ask the man, this month did Godfrey do the needful? Then the person will confirm. Those are the ways to grow economy. And we're giving them free consultancy on how this thing
I think, you know, a day will come, you know, so listen, that's why the Bible encourage you, you know, throw your seed on many waters. Yeah, you know, sometimes you have to go spiritual. You know, otherwise you just collapse one day because the economy is strangulating.
Yes.
It's strangulating. But again, I think I want to thank Dr. Godfrey and Mr. Oluyede for this insightful conversation. We are not going to go until, I promise you, we're going to talk about finance. That is what we are going to stop today. Okay. In our next edition, we'll look at advertising regulations and how you can better promote your business. But to help you understand more about how you can leverage certain facilities, you know, to support your supply chain. I want Dr. Godfrey to share with us some experiences on, you know, the use of positive. It's not positive.
Overdraft.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've come back to the big elephant in the room, which is money. Because again, if you do a survey to ask an SME, what's the biggest elephant?
Access to finance.
Access to finance. Okay, so which is critical. And there is something called grants. There is something called loan. And you're now talking about foreign direct investments.
Yes.
Okay, so there are some category of people that require grants. Okay, they are very small businesses. They are basically trying to exist, trying to survive. So grants are money given, and you don't expect them to pay interest on it and not to be returned at the end of the day. Then loans are the one that the banks give, and at the end of the day, you are expected to pay back. But again, in the course of doing business, I discovered something, especially for a liquidity-driven business. You require an OD. The banks call it, in those days, overdraft, OD. Okay? So you apply for an OD, okay? So OD is different from a term loan.
Okay.
A term loan is that maybe you need 1 million for a period of 3 years or for a period of 3 months. Okay, so that money is disbursed to you. Whether you use the money or you don't use it,
pay interest on it.
At the end of the day, you're going to pay interest on it. But overdraft, if, for example, you have an OD line, overdraft line of, say, 100 million, for example. So if in a month you use 10 million, you pay interest on that 10 million. So it is guaranteed now that you know that if you have cash issue, you know where to run to, because that overdraft has already been approved. You don't have to go back again to start doing documentation. Yes. So if I have an OD or overdraft line of 1 year, so it means that maybe January I go, I use 10 million, pay back. The next month I use 20 million. So I keep using and I keep paying back like that. So every business, especially those liquidity-driven businesses, require that, because again, there's something called a run on a business. Yeah. A run means that all your customers come at the same time demanding, and you're able to meet up their request. So that takes you out of business immediately. And the only thing that can solve that problem is an overdraft line. Yes. So today, we're speaking to SMEs, CEOs. Go back to your bank and negotiate. But for you to be able to get a good OD line, make sure that all your transactions goes through the bank. Okay? There's no need keeping any money at home, because again, OD line comes with what is called turnover lending. Okay. Turnover lending has to be with how much turnover are you able to do. Okay, in that case, if your turnover is good, you don't need a collateral. Okay, somebody like Dangote today, how much collateral is he going to give them to be able to build that mega refinery? Yeah. No collateral will be able to meet up with that. Exactly. And so they are there watching to say, look, do the right thing, good corporate governance, code of conduct. You see how they flow now? So once you put that all in place, they know the CEO, they know the CTO, they know the CFO, and all these guys are trained professionals that are ready to do the right thing. So you give them the loan facility. So as Dangote is producing, all money is going to the bank. Yeah. There is no diversion. So they know that the money must go to the bank. So the point where they feel that is no longer compliant, as soon as your money comes in, they block. So that they are able to get their money.
They can cut that one first.
Yes. So they block. It gets to a point where they even take over the company. Yes. So that's another form of financing. Yeah. And that's where our bank should become ingenious. They are not. They are just armchair bankers. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. So you get to the point where you finance G Consulting, you must know everything about the cash flow. They talk about cash flow a lot. Exactly. How money comes in, how money goes out. Once it satisfies the loan, you give him the money. Any day is no longer compliant, you boot him out. Yes. The loan term says boot him out and appoint a management this thing to run the business until you get all your money back. So and that's where the Nigerian government comes in with the laws. What do they call it now?
Credit Bureau.
No, not. I'm talking about the fact that if you go against the law,
the GSI.
If you go against the law will go against you. Yeah. There is no. I don't have forgotten the name. The rule of law or something. Yeah. So if you go against the law, you understand what I'm saying now? You're running a company, you're not following FRSA code of conduct, you can get put out. Exactly. And that's what happened to Tony Elumedu, Jim Ovia, and Cecilia Ibru. They exceeded at 10 years. So when Lamido Sanusi became the CBN governor, he just brought out the code of conduct. You're not supposed to be there for more than 10 years. So rules and regulations, and that's where the Nigerian government comes in to say, look, you have gone against the law will go against you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Godfrey. As we wrap up now, let me get the last statement from Mr. Louis.
Yes, I'll just wrap it up with what he was talking about in terms of finances, especially the OD that we were talking about. Any business that want to assess OD, overdraft, must do. All its record accounting books must be up to date. You don't take money out of the company as if it belongs to you personally. In a class, I was when we were training CBN loanees, I was telling them about somebody when they are coming from home, they are coming from office. He just sold something worth of 5,000. The wife will call him from there. Please buy milk and for Junior as well coming. That money, 5,000 naira for the business, is not to buy milk. You can only leverage on the profit that you made. And I was even telling them you can't even pay tithe from the net profit, from the profit. You only pay from the money that accrue to you as a businessman.
But that you are touching somewhere. Hey! Do not touch my anointing.
No. Some people talking about corporate titling.
Yes, yes. But you have to prove it. That you are doing corporate titling.
So corporate titling has become a human being. Because I was thinking that titling is only meant for human beings.
It also boils down to the fact that when you talk about 100% ownership, so those kind of things are bound to happen.
Yes.
But when you have a diverse board, that there are Muslims there, there are Christians there, there are Jews there. So where are you going to pay the title?
I don't understand. We'll set up a committee to consult where you're going to pay the title. But on that note, we want to thank you for staying with us on CEO G Connect. This special edition is so insightful, and I believe you must have learned, great deal on how you can improve your business.
Yeah, and if you want to improve, your business, you reach out to us. The three of us are capable.
Yeah.
We've been in the business and we've been helping out to sort out. We want to see a 100-year company in Nigeria in the next few years.
Yes. Now, this is COG Connect, and we are coming to you live from the G Consulting International Services Arena. That is where we're having this live production. And like Dr. Godfrey just pointed out, this organization is built to support your business, to provide you the quality services and hold you in every aspect of your business journey. And so if you are willing to take advantage of the experience that is at G Consulting International Services, you can contact us on the addresses and phone numbers that will be scrolling on your screen. We'll come back to you with another edition of COG Connect, where we'll be focusing essentially on advertising and how you can better promote your business. Because of course, like Dr. Godfrey said, if you don't understand your market, then you are almost getting ready to go.